data is good and analysis is good and technology is good, but what people crave today really is human connection. The subtitle of my book is "The Most Human Company Wins," and I think that really sums it up. That's what we crave in our hearts. There's been this disconnect where companies think they're doing great marketing that connects with.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Engati CX. For this episode, we have the pleasure of welcoming Mark Schaefer to our interview series. Before I dive in, remember to hit the subscribe button to be notified for more exclusive content from thought leaders from around the globe. Now let's begin with a quick introduction of Engati. Engati is the world's leading multilingual no-code chatbot platform, available across 14 channels with 25,000 bots, created across 186 countries in every domain and use case. Engati has been recognized as a top platform by INC.com, TechWorld, CIO, and many others. We run the Engati blog, video channel, and Engati CX podcast, receiving upwards of 300,000 visitors annually. And now for our guest. Mark Schaefer is a globally recognized blogger, speaker, educator, consultant, and author. As executive director of the US-based Schaefer Marketing Solutions, he specializes in marketing strategy and social media workshops. Mark has advanced degrees in marketing and organizational development and holds 7 patents. He's the author of 7 best-selling novels, and he is the co-host of The Marketing Companion, one of the top 10 marketing podcasts on iTunes. Mark is also amongst the top 10 most retweeted marketing authorities in the world and is listed as one of the top 10 authorities on social selling by Forbes. He is amongst the world's recognized social media authorities and has been a keynote speaker. But before we get the inside scoop from Mark himself, here's a quick announcement. We have something special for all of you, so stick around till the end of the interview. Mark, it is so great to have you.
Thank you, Aish. It's nice to be with you today.
So let's get started with our first question. How will companies undergo digital transformation post the pandemic?
Well, I think the idea of digital transformation, it really doesn't change. I mean, I think the reality of our world is that, especially with big companies, transformation doesn't really occur unless it has to. I think, generally speaking, big companies are very conservative with their expenditures. They're judicious with their budgets, and they don't get into big spends unless they start to feel some pain. Mm-hmm. And I know a lot of the people in the technology field like to think, oh my goodness, digital transformation is necessary because it opens up all these new opportunities and all these new, things for our customers. But the fact of the business world really is that digital transformation is painful because it means investment and often with some sort of uncertain returns. Now, what's going on with the pandemic is sort of uneven, by different. The pandemic certainly is an accelerator. It's changing things that were probably going to change anyway, in terms of increased use of technology to work, to connect, to buy, to serve, to entertain. And these are things that maybe we're seeing realities that might have taken a decade to achieve, and we're changing very, very quickly. So there is a lot of investment in technology right now, and there's a lot of investment in work from home technologies, for example. I'm not sure that really represents digital transformation, but I think the companies that are feeling pain, those are the ones that'll move into digital transformation more quickly.
Do you think AI is going to play a role in companies undergoing digital transformation?
Well, I think that depends. Of course, AI is. That's a pretty big question. AI can mean a lot of things, and companies can mean a lot of things. I think there was a great quote by the author Kevin Kelly. He wrote a very good book maybe 2 or 3 years ago called The Inevitable. And he writes about how technology will show up in our world and in our lives. And he had a great quote in there that, that artificial intelligence basically will provide a layer of innovation to everything that we do in our lives. So everything will become a little bit more easy, a little bit more personalized. It'll happen a little bit faster, So if we need an idea, if we need directions everything will be a little better. And it's going to sort of sneak up on us like a cat. We're not going to wake up one day and say, "Oh my goodness, the world is artificially intelligent." Everything is changing slowly. Everything is getting a little bit better, a little bit faster. We may not even recognize the impact of artificial intelligence in our lives, but that's, I think, how it will roll out to consumers.
I think it's one of those technologies that kind of slowly creeps up on you, much like an example would probably be the iPhone coming up with Siri. It wasn't the most obvious thing, but it's pretty monumental. It's like a virtual assistant,
Yeah. And it's getting better every month. So that's how it's sort of creeping up on us, right? I mean, it's not it doesn't like hit us in the face and make us say, "Oh, oh wow, that's something I've never seen before." But yeah, so it makes everything a little bit easier and better.
Great. So moving on to my next question. How will social media become a crucial marketing tool, and what new trends do you think we're going to see?
Well, I think that's really interesting. I mean, I think in some respects, we're sort of entering a post-social media kind of phase in marketing, where I think people just don't know what to know about social media. They don't know what to trust about social media. And I think one of the significant announcements of the last 12 months was the emphasis that Facebook is putting on groups. And we may not trust the news, and we may not trust what we see on social media, but we trust each other. And so I think that in the respect that social media can enable groups, private conversations with people that we trust and respect, I think that's probably where social media is heading. It's interesting. I've been doing some research for some different clients lately, and it's interesting that LinkedIn has all this opportunity. So I love LinkedIn. I have so many great connections there, but groups on LinkedIn are sadly kind of dead and quiet. It's inexplicable, because I think that's where the future really can be. I think that's why we're seeing a renaissance on Twitter, because Twitter chats are really popular, right? So it's sort of like a community. I think that Facebook is now starting to create like community groups based on Messenger. Perhaps this is a time for LinkedIn to like maybe double down their efforts on creating viable communities there. So I think social media will sort of become an enabler to communities. I think I see that's where it's heading.
But do you think marketing and social media have evolved with technology in terms of enabling this community group factor?
Well, I mean, we couldn't really do it without technology. I mean, I wouldn't be speaking to you today, really, if somehow you probably heard about me through social media or something, and now we're connected through this amazing technology. And I have friends and fans of my work all over the world. So I certainly couldn't be who I am today, or where I am today, without technology. And I think the great opportunity is that through technology and through social media, we create these weak relational links that are potential, right? So so maybe you had been connected to me, or maybe you had heard of me, but we didn't really have a relationship. That's what social media is about. Now look where we are today. We're having a face-to-face conversation. We're collaborating. We're creating value together, and so we're taking it beyond that weak relational link of social media and creating some real business value. So social media sort of opens up the doors, but then it's up to all of us to kind of take it to the next step to create real relationships and value.
Mm-hmm. So do you see technology as sort of the catalyst, but then it's something that has to be supplemented by the human connection?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's all. I mean, technology is just a tool. It's an opportunity for us to be ourselves at our best.
Mm-hmm.
Most people don't post about the crappy stuff going on, or the crappy things that they do, or the bad cake that failed. Sometimes we do, but I mean, mostly we post about our shiny best selves. But I think that there's a benefit to that too. I mean, we can show the best of who we are, and if we're generous, we can show that, and if we're helpful, we can show that, and we can truly build meaningful relationships through technology. But it's really up to us, not the technology.
That's great to hear. So how has marketing evolved with tech and automation till now?
Well, I think the big problem with marketing is we've become obsessed with technology. We become over reliant on technology, and that's. I wrote this book called Marketing Rebellion. It's right over there, and one of the main ideas behind this book is that we see these mega trends that people are less loyal than they used to be in a massive way. And this has happened all in the last 20 or 25 years. So people used to be really, really loyal to brands. And today we're in this shop around culture where we're just kind of going through trying to find the best deal, and we're going to have free delivery and a good return policy. And we don't really care a lot many of the times where it comes from. And the research shows that one of the reasons why we've lost this loyalty is because marketing is lost in a way, that we've become too obsessed with technology, and we've lost sight of this idea of emotion. And great marketing, great branding is about building this emotional connection between what you do or what you sell and your audience. And it takes time and it takes a lot of work, but great marketing is really about an emotion.
Mm-hmm.
It's not necessarily about efficiency and dashboards, and marketing. It's become sick in a lot of ways. It's become a glorified IT department, and we've lost touch with our customers. We've lost touch with the human conversations and the human needs. And so, and don't get me wrong, I'm not anti-technology. Technology is really important when it's invisible.
Mm-hmm.
When we use technology not to set up a barrier between our customers that makes them angry, like robocalls is an example, right? We have this thing in America where we have these stupid companies calling us randomly with these automated messages, and it wastes time and it just increases aggravation. And that's an example of using technology to abuse customers. When we can use technology to really serve our customers in a more human way that creates delight and engagement and connection and inspiration, that's when we can use technology in marketing at its best.
I've found what you said about technology, it's best being used when it's invisible. I could not agree more. I think that's an incredible line. I think, yeah, so thank you for sharing that with us. Um, but do you see any major shifts happening with marketing in tech post the pandemic? Like, say, there's a rise of new emotional analysis tools. So do you think that's going to help out with marketing since we feel everything's a bit robotic? Do you think emotional analysis is going to impact it?
I mean, data is good and analysis is good and technology is good, but what people crave today really is human connection. The subtitle of my book is "The Most Human Company Wins," and I think that really sums it up. That's what we crave in our hearts. There's been this disconnect where companies think they're doing great marketing that connects with people, but when you ask customers, they're saying no, their marketing is terrible, and there's this vast chasm between the job we think we're doing and the job that we're actually doing. So I think, the opportunity today is, look, again, data is just like technology. Data is a resource. Data is something that we can use in our businesses. And if we use it in a way to create a more human and compelling presence, then we'll win. I think the pandemic has sort of shined a real light. We've talked about how the pandemic is an accelerator. The pandemic is also an accelerator to a lot of the things I wrote about in my book. And we see that the companies who are responding in truly a human and helpful way will remember that. We'll never forget the companies who really rolled up their sleeves and helped us. The companies who are making these commercials that say, oh, we're with you, we've always been with you, but they're not really doing anything. They're wedded to the old ways of thinking, right? Mm-hmm. People don't see those ads anymore because they're streaming on Netflix or they're streaming on Amazon. And if you see those commercials, you don't believe them anyway because they're all the same. And what we want to see people show up. Look, everyone we know, every person you know, and every person I know is suffering in some way right now. We're all grieving some kind of loss. It could be the loss of seeing friends. It could be the loss of seeing our family. I had the virus, right? And so, I struggled through that for several weeks, but because I have a virus and I have some sort of immunity now, I can actually see people because I can't give them the virus. And I got to see my daughter for the first time in months, and as I hugged her, she had tears streaming down her face. She said, "Dad, this is the first hug I've had in 2 months." Right? Now that may seem like a simple thing, but all of us are grieving the loss of something. And so we just can't advertise like we used to. We just can't market like we used to. We have to really connect in an authentic way, in a deep way. We have to show up in people's communities and show up in people's lives and really give them help and understanding right now.
No, that was beautiful to hear. Thank you. Firstly, congratulations on making a full recovery.
Well, thank you. I'm thinking of putting that on my resume.
Oh my goodness. In terms of making things more human, what tips could you provide to our audience to leverage this? Because I think right now, no one really knows what to do, and it's a very confusing time. So do you have any tips you could share with us?
Well, I think it's really not that that difficult or confusing if you think excuse me, if you think in terms of being a consumer first instead of being a marketer first. So it's pretty clear to most of us what we really hate about advertising and marketing, right? And so the first step toward a more human-centered approach to marketing is to think about what you're doing in your company. And if you're doing things that people hate, stop it, right? If you hate it, other people will hate it. Why would you do that? And the thing that's so encouraging to me, Aish, is I see young people like you. They get this, right? The new businesses, the new great marketing that's being led in the world is being created by people like you because you have this sensitivity. You're a digital native, and you have this innate sensibility about what works, doesn't work. And you know the new generation coming up, they look at our traditional world of advertising and advertising agencies, and they think, why would we do that to people? I don't like that. I don't like being bombarded. I don't like being interrupted. I don't like being intercepted. That's not what people do to each other. I wouldn't treat my friends that way. Why would a company treat me that way? And so it really doesn't have to be that complicated. It gets down to common sense and human nature. But it does take leadership to change. You know, it takes leadership to not just keep doing what everybody's been doing for, you know, decades and decades, and think about what does the world need now? You know, what do people really need now?
Mm-hmm. What role do you think empathy plays in marketing?
Well, you know, I think empathy certainly is important, but it can also be a very overused word, right? And so let me tell you what I mean by that. So I think sometimes marketers become too self-absorbed,
Mm-hmm.
and they think, oh, you know, it's all about our story, it's about our narrative and the arc of our story and our content and our social media presence, and we have to build these relationships with customers. And sometimes that's true. Certainly, if you're trying to establish a brand, that's true. But you know, I want you to think about the all the products that you bought in the last month, let's say. Okay, so you know, I've been upgrading a lot of my online presentation equipment, right? So I had to get some new software. I had to get a new tripod for a camera. I had to buy some new cords. I had to buy a new surge protector. I don't even know what company makes these things. I'm not going to subscribe to their blog. I don't have a relationship with them. I'm not opting into anything. I'm going to buy this thing and I want them to leave me alone, right? So somehow they created a product that got my attention. It's probably because they have good reviews and they had the features that I needed, and it was a reasonable price, and I could get it in the time frame that I wanted it. Now, those are like the classic 4 P's of marketing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Place and promotion and price. So that's old school. It still works. And so when we talk about empathy, the people that made the tripod that I make, I don't really care if they have empathy. I don't. I don't have any empathy to them, and they don't have empathy to me. I don't need any email from them saying, "Mark, we're with you in these trying times." Right? Just leave me alone. Send me the tripod, and if it works, you'll never hear from me again. But there's still good marketing behind that, and I just think that empathy is one of those words like authenticity or or storytelling that's really overused in the world today. And so look, if you're trying, we talked about great branding is about building that emotional connection, then yes, empathy 100%, right, If you're trying to build a brand, emotion and connection and maybe even community is super, super important. But 95% of the time, people just want to be left alone.
I agree, actually. um, what about in terms of creating the sort of, you mentioned a lot about the best marketing is one that's human. So do you
Yeah.
think video will be a critical marketing tool in establishing that human connection? Do you think it's going to change the way of marketing?
Um, video's already really been on the rise. And video is so important because uh, I mean, there's nothing more powerful than hearing my voice and seeing my expression and seeing my face and hearing my passion. I mean, there's something that occurs in video that will never be the same, in a blog or even a podcast or something on Twitter or a post on Facebook. So uh, I think video is really important. I think right now, in some ways, video is becoming oversaturated because everybody knows that. I think that we're going to have to be challenged with video to come up with something extraordinary. I mean, I think the number right now is something like there are 3 years of content uploaded to YouTube every hour of the day, something like that. And so there's just this overwhelming tsunami of content out there being on video, which may mean, hey, maybe to stand out, maybe you should do a blog, maybe you should do a podcast if video is being saturated. I think my key point is don't do video just because everybody else is doing it and you're afraid of being left out. Great marketing is about non-conformity, not conformity. All right. So if everybody's zigging, you got to figure out a way to zag. And it might be okay to do video. Video might be your best thing to do, but you got to do it in a different way than everybody else, or you're just going to become part of the noise.
Mm-hmm. I love the zigzag analogy. Moving on to my next question. How can chatbots be leveraged as a new customer service and marketing tool? How crucial will such technologies become?
I think chatbots are a really interesting technology for a number of reasons. We talked about this imperative to be the most human company. And actually, chatbots are based in AI and technology, but they can actually make you a lot more human. I mean, let's put it this way. Customer service for many companies is terrible. So if a chatbot can just make you one step above terrible, it's a win, right? So, and the research shows that people are very open to chatbots. If you, it's just like any customer service experience. If you can deliver if you can deliver great, customer service, if you can create a great customer experience, people don't care. I mean, they're very accepting to technology and chatbots if it can, save them time, save them money, save them anxiety. The other thing that I think that's going to be interesting about chatbots is the ability to actually eventually not just be task oriented, but actually engage in conversations with customers that could be a way of creating insight about customers. I think that's a little more off in the future, but I think if you do a good job, chatbots could actually create entertainment value that would engage customers more than talking to a customer service rep who doesn't really even want to be there. So I think chatbots have an enormous potential. I think the technology is improving, the cost is coming down, it'll be accessible to a lot more businesses, and I think chatbot, the era of chatbots is really just beginning.
Yes, it's a very exciting time, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So, final question. Do you have any other thoughts you'd like to leave our audience with?
Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground here, but I think I'd like to leave a thought that's very specific to this pandemic time that we're in, that we just need to really reflect on how we're serving our customers where they are right now. Okay, so if you're just selling or marketing the way you were a few months ago, that's probably not appropriate right now.
Mhm.
Our customers, the world has changed. Our customers have changed. They might be changing for a long period of time. So we need to think about, what's going on emotionally with our customers, what's going on financially with our customers. How are they consuming content in new ways, in different ways? Are they buying through new channels? Are they hearing about products through new channels? What is their level of stress and anxiety? Do they have new needs that are underserved or unmet that we can help them with? So we need to reimagine our marketing by sort of having a new vision of our customers and being really in tune with where they are right now.
Mhm. I agree. Thank you so much for your brilliant insights and for giving us your time. I know our audience is really going to enjoy this interview with you, Mark. So, if you stuck around for this long, we're so excited to announce that our ebook, The Evolution of Customer Experience, is out and available to download. Check the link in our description for more details. We'll be back with a new episode with a brand new expert soon. So, stay tuned and we'll see you around for the next one. Bye, everyone.